You are listening to The Right Path to Retirement. I am Casey Biddy here with certified financial planner Jimmy Lin, founder of Right Path Wealth Management in Henderson. And he is here to help ease your retirement worries. 702-744-8344 is our phone number. And I just want to remind you real quick that our first 5 callers today will get on the calendar for a complimentary retirement consultation with Jimmy. This is a chance for you to get your big retirement questions answered. No pressure, no obligation, but spots are filling up. So dial 702-744-8344 to secure your spot. One more time for you. That number is 702-744-8344, or you can always visit us online at rightpathwm.com to learn more. All right, Jimmy, if someone's been thinking about retirement for a while, they've probably heard of the 4% rule. It's that old school rule of thumb that says you can withdraw 4% of your investments each year. But lately, this rule has become a very big debate. On one side, you have finance personality Dave Ramsey calling the rule ridiculous, saying people can take out way more than that. And on the other hand, you've got personal finance guru Suze Orman, and she calls this rule dangerous, arguing that you should be withdrawing no more than 3%. So, Jimmy, when you hear this, who do you think is right? And more importantly, how do you feel about a rule that's governed by percentages?
Yeah, I mean, I think retirement planning is hard enough, and it's not nice to have these gurus giving conflicting information, right? It just makes everything just completely confusing when you're trying to create a plan. But I would say, in all honesty, neither is right, because neither knows the situations of any of the listeners that are out there right now, right? So 4% could make complete sense in one scenario, and 12% may be perfectly fine in another scenario. So it really boils down to the individual plan. What I will say, though, that having no plan is definitely the wrong solution. So typically what we see in our assessments when people are coming in, they're kind of preparing for retirement. We see people that know how much they're going to get out of their Social Security. You know, they're going to file at 67 and they know they're going to get a couple $1,000s from Social Security. And they know they may need $4,000 or $5,000 a month to pay their bills in retirement. So what they're going to do, their plan is to pick away at a pile of money. They got a pile of money in their 401k, and they're just going to pick at it as needed throughout the year. And that, Casey, can be a recipe for disaster. Because what happens is if your plan is just to pick away at a pile of money without having any intentional plan of where that money is going to come from and how it's going to be allocated over the next few years, you're actually being exposed to one of the little known things that people talk about, which is sequence of return risk, which essentially is you need to fill a gap in your income. You're pulling that from your investments. But if the market's going down and you got to pull some of that money out, you're locking in losses. And so that's one of the reasons we say you need a plan, whatever it is, just have somebody take a look at it. But whether it's the 4% rule, 12% rule, you have to have an intentional plan that fits your situation.
Well, it sounds like a percentage rule, regardless of what the number is, might be too rigid. So what's the biggest flaw, Jimmy, in a one-size-fits-all approach to retirement withdrawals, and what factors do you consider instead?
Well, really, the problem with a one-size-fits-all plan is that every retiree has different resources that they're working with, and every retiree has different expectations of what they want out of retirement, right? Some people have a pension. Some people may have a rental income that they can rely on. Some people may have a large mortgage that they still have to pay off, right? So using a one-size-fits-all approach just doesn't make sense. What you need to do is take each individual situation and then provide a custom plan that's really designed for that individual's goals based on also the resources they have. I mean, we do that every day, Casey. So, we see some people that their main goal is that they never want to run out of money. And we have others that they want to make sure that they can travel to Europe every single year. So until we break down the resources that are available and the expectations that they have in retirement, we cannot create a reliable income strategy. That's why I think it's all important. We always encourage our listeners, give us a call, get that complimentary Right Path retirement assessment, because we will look at your situation, look at the resources you have and the goals that you want, And we will map out an income plan that can reliably sustain you so that you will not run out of money for the rest of your life. So if any of the listeners are out there, if they want that, definitely encourage them, give us a call, 702-744-8344. Get on my calendar and we'll create that custom plan for you.
And again, I just want to stress, this is a zero obligation meeting. It is just a conversation. There is no pressure. There are no strings attached. Our lines are open. So give us a call now. 702-744-8344 is how you do it. One more time for you, 702-744-8344. Or you can always visit us at rightpathwm.com. All right, music fans are mourning the death of Ozzy Osbourne. The legendary Black Sabbath singer passed away last month at the age of 76 after a 5-year battle with Parkinson's disease. And he spoke to Piers Morgan several years ago. Let's take a listen to what Ozzy had to say.
How are you?
The main thing is over now. I'm done with the surgery, but it's been 5 years of absolute hell for me. My family have been so supportive. I couldn't have done it without them. It's been really a bad scene. I have Parkinson's, but I never think about it.
So, Jimmy, a recent study that I saw by the National Institutes of Health found that 85% of Americans over age 65 have at least one chronic health condition. 60% have at least two, and others may see conditions develop later. So I wanted to ask you, Jimmy, what issues do you look at when building this cost into somebody's retirement plan?
Well, the main issue that we see when people are coming in is that there is no long-term care plan. It's oftentimes one of the items when you're looking at your entire retirement plan that gets ignored because it's easy to kind of kick the can down the curb, right? People, as you're entering into retirement, they're thinking about, okay, do I have enough money for my investments to create an income stream? I'm concerned about taxes. And one of the last pieces to think about is long-term care. But it's becoming more and more of an issue as we're speaking with people, just because people are living longer and there just seems to be health issues that come about and people are starting to get exposed to that. I mean, what I read recently was that on average, long-term care can cost anywhere between $170,000 to $350,000 over the lifetime of a retiree. And if you think about this, if you need long-term care, and let's say you get a private room at a nursing home, Casey, it's $10,000 per month on average to get a private room in a nursing home. So
crazy.
Absolutely. And part of the issue also is that people have the misconception that Medicare might help, and Medicare absolutely does not provide any funding for long-term care. So when we look at a retirement plan, we absolutely have to address long-term care because it's such a large piece that can impact your entire plan as far as the amount of income you can actually have or even what you can pass on to the next generation. One of the things that we've been able to see is that people typically don't get long-term care because it is so expensive. You know, if you get a long-term care policy, it's usually use it or lose it. And it costs so much because people are looking at it at such an advanced age that the premiums are just too high. So we have different strategies that we implement that are able to fund it through, things like life insurance and annuities. So definitely encourage people to kind of take a look at those options as well.
Well, what's the difference between planning for routine healthcare costs and planning for the potential need for long-term care? How do you help your clients prepare for both of those things?
Yeah, that's a great question because they are different. As I said, long-term care is not covered by Medicare, and your routine care typically is what's going to be addressed by Medicare. But even that, when people look up the cost, they usually think, maybe I pay my Part B premium and that's it, and I'm covered for Medicare. I actually had a couple that I was working with this week. They came in specifically, we've already worked on their income plan and now it's time for them to sign up for Medicare. So we kind of talked about the different options. And for those listeners out there, they're probably aware, you can get a supplemental plan to help cover those costs that Medicare doesn't cover, or you can get a Medicare Advantage plan. And the difference between the two is oftentimes a Medicare supplemental plan doesn't have any networks, but there's a premium that you have to pay. And an Advantage plan, you work within a network, but there's no premium that you have to pay. So people will sometimes lean towards getting that Advantage plan because there's no costs. But once we broke down, what they actually needed, we determined that really a supplemental plan makes more sense to them, but it was going to cost them probably about $500 to $1,000 per month in addition to what they're paying. But they went with the supplemental because we had a plan that accounted for that specific expense. And so they felt comfortable getting something that was going to cover them. And so for healthcare, you're looking at things like Medicare, but with long-term care, you use different strategies because the expense is going to be so high. We'd say most of our clients that are coming in now, to cover their long-term care costs, they're doing things like what I mentioned before, hybrid life insurance policies that are able to provide coverage for their long-term care needs, but it's not use it or lose it. So it's very different planning between healthcare and long-term care, but there are solutions for both. If you come in and meet with us, we can kind of break it down so that you can see what solutions will fit your needs.
Yes, do not let these big costs of retirement, like long-term care, catch you off guard. Jimmy and his team at Right Path Wealth Management building comprehensive plans that account for all of the expenses that retirement could possibly throw your way. Remember, our first 5 callers today will receive that complimentary retirement consultation with Jimmy. 702-744-8344 is the number for you to dial, and Jimmy is ready to help you find your best path forward. But you've got to pick up the phone and secure your spot on his calendar. 702-744-8344 is that number for you. One last time, make sure you write this down, 702-744-8344, or we are online at rightpathwm.com. That is going to do it for us this week. We will be back next week, same time, same place, with more great insight from certified financial planner Jimmy Lin here on the Right Path to Retirement. Take care.
Insurance products are offered through the insurance business Right Path Wealth Management. Right Path Wealth Management is also an investment advisory practice that offers products and services through Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC, a registered investment advisor. IPW does not offer insurance products. The insurance products offered by Right Path Wealth Management are not subject to investment advisory requirements. Investing involves risk, including potential loss of principal. Any reference to the protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing carrier. This radio podcast is intended for informational purposes only. It's not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decision, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual situation. Right Path Wealth Management is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during the show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Right Path Wealth Management. Market Guard is a firm that provides investment signals as well as portfolio allocation recommendations, wide variety of model portfolios. Market Guard does not offer advice or enter into fiduciary relationships.